Our speaker today is Jerry Horton, the Technology Director with Blue Valley Communications. And Jerry's going to talk to us about cybersecurity. Why is it important and where do I start? Jerry, thank you for being with us, and I'm prepared to be frightened.
All right. Thank you, Nancy, and hello to everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Hopefully you can see the screen. It should be a big gray screen that says Cybersecurity 103A. That's what we're going to be talking about today is cybersecurity. Now, this particular one, I've given this presentation multiple times. I subtitled it, Wolves in Sheep's Clothing and How to Keep from Being Sheared. Basically, what it boils down to is that the cyber criminals are out there and they're looking for a payday. So let's talk a little bit about what your best methods are to start preparing yourself to defend against them. This is, by the way, the officially abridged edition of this. In general, this talk is usually about an hour long, but you guys are getting the short version today. So with that, let me get over to the right screen here, and we'll begin. I do want to encourage everybody, if you have a question, please do go ahead and you can type it in the chat, or if you want to unmute your microphone and ask the question, please do. I don't mind being interrupted, and believe me, if you've got a question, it's a pretty sure bet that 4 or 5 other people have the exact same question. So with that, let's get started. What is the biggest security threat facing your business today? Is it fire? Flood? Well, this year, that was a real possibility. Tornado? Always a possibility here in the Midwest. Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un doing the Macarena? I don't think so, but you know, you never can tell. And no, it really is not. Human error is the largest threat that we all face. And there she is, human error herself. According to the National Institutes for Standards and Technology, over 90% of all cyber incidents are directly attributable to human error. Now, that's a frightening statistic because a lot of people are under the impression that, oh, you know, I have antivirus, so I should be protected. Oh, well, you know, I've got a firewall, so I should be protected. When in truth, those are good preventative measures, but the real problem starts with the human beings involved. So let's explore that a little bit. Before we get started, I want to expand on this a little bit. My thoughts on cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is not a technology problem. It is a new thought process and approach. This is one of my favorite infographics of all time. Flip a coin once to see if your organization will be victimized by ransomware. Flip it again if paying the ransom gets your data back. And by the way, absolutely truthful. A little bit of a story behind this. A few years back, the city of San Francisco suffered a ransomware attack against their public transit system. And they were down for 3 days. They had good backups. They opted not to pay the ransom, which I think was $250,000 or something like that, and a large enough number to make one stop and think about it. But it took them 3 days. Now, this public transit system, during this 3-day time frame, public transit system could operate, but they could not collect fares. Guess when this ransomware attack occurred? Well, it happened to occur over Thanksgiving weekend. So literally, by the time they totted it all up, I think they lost somewhere around $2 to $3 million in money they couldn't collect because they refused to pay a $250 or $250,000 ransom. So just realize that it's not always about not paying the ransom. It's about weighing that business decision as well. But on to my thoughts about cybersecurity. Couple of quotes here that are pretty telling. If you think technology alone can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and you don't understand the technology. This is from Bruce Schneier, who is a cybersecurity analyst and really famous in my side of the industry. He's one of the people that when he speaks, everybody listens. This next one is one of my absolute favorites. And it doesn't really have anything to do with cybersecurity, but it does. This is from John F. Kennedy. There are risks and costs to a program of action, but they are far less than the long-range cost of comfortable inaction. And that's exactly how you need to think about your investment in cybersecurity, because you will have to invest some money to prevent as many incidents or recuperate from as incidents in your small to medium business. You're going to have to spend money. It doesn't have to be a huge amount, but you do have to make that investment. So let's move on. This is my favorite part of the presentation. I call it scary statistics. And there she is. She's frightened, and she should be. McAfee Labs recorded an average of 5 new malware samples per second. That was in June of 2018. Needless to say, that number has only gone up in the last year. I haven't seen the updated stat on this yet. But this is where I tell you that your traditional antivirus can't keep up. Now, here's why. Traditional antiviruses generally worked on a signature base. In other words, it had to know that something was a bad thing. And so that means somebody had to find it and somebody had to write a cure, and then it got wrapped into your subscription for the antivirus. The problem is when you have 5 new malware samples per second, no human being can keep up with that. So while traditional antivirus is still very much required, and it's still something you should have, realize that antivirus alone can't save you anymore. This one is a statistic that really should make you stop and think. Because most modern cyber security incidents are of a significant size and can cause catastrophic data loss. Either catastrophic data loss or just catastrophic production loss to your industry. Of companies that suffered catastrophic data loss, 43% never reopened because our businesses are the data. I don't care if you build widgets or you're a lumber yard, you have to know what's in stock, who ordered what, who owes you money, who you owe money to. That's all data, and it's all stored in computers. 51% of these people, even if they could recover from it, never managed to really regain their feet and close their doors within 2 years. Ransomware, a big thing, and it's been on the rise pretty steadily until 2019, where it kind of plateaued. Don't get me wrong, ransomware is still very much a problem. It just isn't climbing at quite the rate that it was earlier. Realize that in 2013, nobody had ever heard of ransomware. It is literally big business for cyber criminals. It caused $325 million in damage in 2015, over $5 billion in 2017, and is expected to be close out the year ahead of the prediction here of $11.5 billion. Currently, and Nancy and I were discussing this before everybody jumped on, currently there are a couple of cyber criminal groups, at least the general thought process is that there are at least 2 of them, who are targeting the healthcare industry specifically with ransomware. And one of these cyber criminal groups recently attacked a very large purveyor of software for healthcare entities. and they demanded a $14 million ransom. So just realize that these guys were pretty sure that the company that was attacked could pay that, and they will go after you at scale. That's what they're after, is a payday. They don't care anything about the data. They just want the money, and then they want to be gone. So if those statistics didn't scare you enough, believe me, I've got plenty more, and we could talk about them endlessly. But let's move on to, okay, we know there's a problem. Now, what can we do about it? Well, the road to cybersecurity, generally speaking, is fairly simple to get started on. And a lot of the stuff doesn't cost a lot of money. It's about changing your behavior. It's about developing some good habits. And it's about putting a few technical roadblocks, basically, because that's what they are to these cyber criminals, is roadblocks. You put a few technical roadblocks in place and you're in pretty good shape. Let's talk about a few of those. First off, patches and updates. Pardon, had to get a drink of coffee there. You have to keep your operating systems and applications up to date with the latest patches. Those patches are put out specifically to address vulnerabilities in this software. And everything is run by software these days. Now, when I talk about operating systems and applications, I'm not just talking about your computer sitting on your desk. I'm talking about your mobile phone. I'm talking about your tablets. I'm talking about your laptop. I'm talking about your smart TVs and your smart cameras. All of those things are basically miniature computers. You have to keep them patched. Most of the, or not most, but many of the most recent serious security breaches, like Heartbleed and WannaCry and the 1,000 variants of WannaCry that there have been out there, were successful simply because systems weren't patched. Now, one of the really bad things about this, WannaCry just globally brought entire industries to a halt. The problem was that the patch that was available 6 months before WannaCry was out. So these people who had a successful attack launched against them simply hadn't patched their systems. Had they done so, it wouldn't have been a problem. Now, part of that is that patching and updating a system isn't always as simple as enabling Windows updates. Usually the patches have to be tested and vetted properly whenever you can. So if you have an IT staff internally, make sure that they're vetting the patches before they launch them. Make sure that they're appropriate to your business. If you don't, there are services that, pardon me, that you can purchase that will do this for you. Pardon me. Next is identity management and MFA, or multi-factor authentication. Now, this is something that I could, and this is one of my hobby horses, and I could talk about this for a long time. Just for a second, stop and think about how many digital identities you have. Normally, when I do this talk face-to-face, I will just point blank ask people, what do you think the average number of digital identities a person has is? Well, the number is about 120.
I would argue with you, Jerry. I've got a system that keeps all my identities, and it goes on for screens and screens and screens.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like I said, 120 is just the average. I've got a guy here at work who's got over 200. So believe me when I say digital identities are nothing to sneeze at. You know, everybody thinks, well, you know, I only have my email and my login at work, and then you stop and think about it. You've got the one for Evergy, which used to be Westar. You've got the one for whoever your cable system is through, your internet, your Amazon account, your Netflix account, and on and on and on. So absolutely, you have tons of digital identities. Very first thing you need to do is you need to realize that you cannot reuse passwords or credentials between these different digital identities. If you do, then what happens is you've just given a lever to the cyber criminals to beat you with. So what you need to do is you need to get a password manager. Now, I've written a blog about how to build an appropriate passphrase, because passwords really aren't as effective. I don't know about you, I'm pretty good at this, but I can't remember 120 separate passwords. So I use a password manager to help me do that. And I randomize my passwords. I use passphrases. So, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog is a passphrase. That's much stronger than a password. The reason is length has more to do with it than complexity. The longer a passphrase is, the less likely it is to be hacked. So use a password manager. There are tons of them out there. We recommend right now, and we actually use LastPass Enterprise, works great, but there are a ton of them out there. And start looking at them. Multi-factor authentication is another one. Make sure that you're using multi-factor authentication on everything that offers it. This increases the level of difficulty for a cyber criminal to the point where they don't even want to mess with it. Multi-factor authentication is fairly simple in general. Most of the time, and I'll take Amazon for instance, most of the time you log in with your credentials, your username and your passphrase, and then they send you a one-time password as a text message on your cell phone. That is multi-factor authentication. If you have a relatively modern cell phone, it uses biometric, like face recognition or thumbprint recognition. Make sure you turn those things on and use them every time you get a chance. Security software and hardware. Well, that kind of goes without saying. You need to make sure that you have a good antivirus. You need to make sure that you're using a firewall. You need to make sure, if you can afford it, especially in a business, that you're using advanced endpoint protection, something that goes beyond what an antivirus can do. And it actually, pardon me, it will actually analyze the behavior of what's going on inside your computer at any given time. If the behavior is anomalous, it will stop it, and it will warn you what's going on, about what's going on. Advanced endpoint protection is a huge deal, and it needs to be on every workstation. You can't just put it out at the perimeter. If you have just a firewall at the perimeter, then you have what I call candy bar security. It's hard on the outside, but brittle, and it's soft and mushy on the inside. Make sure that you're building that defense in depth. Finally, you need to make sure that you have reliable backups. Backups are your best line of defense against ransomware. And as a matter of fact, they're almost the only line of defense against ransomware. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're taking good, reliable backups every day, at least once a day. And you need to make sure that those backups are offline. Most ransomware is network aware, and so it will encrypt anything that it can talk to. Make sure that your backup is offline so that the ransomware can't see it and doesn't know where it's at. Okay? All right, but what is your biggest security risk? A college student taking a selfie? Nope. It's the person looking back at you in the mirror. You are your own worst enemy when it comes to cybersecurity. So we're going to talk about Horton's 2 rules for cybersecurity. Stop, look, and think. And don't trust anything, verify everything. I'm sure you've all heard of business email compromise. This is when a phishing email comes in and somebody says, hey, I really need you to go down and buy $1,000 worth of Amazon gift cards on your personal credit card, and then I'll reimburse you. This is not an unknown scam, and I've actually talked to customers who've had this happen to them. Realistically, you've just got to stop, look, and think. If it's too good to be true, it probably isn't true. Phishing is a huge deal. Social engineering is basically lying. People are lying to you to get you to do something that you should not or normally would not do. And let's talk about phishing and vishing. Vishing is just like phishing, except it's on the phone. It's voice solicitation. And about 91, I think 92% at the last time I checked the stat, of all attacks start with a successful phish or vish. So how do you recognize it? Because phishing is via email. Well, first off, who sent it? Do you recognize them? If you don't, if it's not something that you requested, throw it away. But I know this person, and maybe you do and maybe you don't. Double check. It's very, very easy to spoof email addresses. Who was it sent to? Was it sent directly to you, or was it to a group of people that you don't recognize? If it was sent to a group, it's clearly a phishing attempt, throw it out. When was it sent? If you got an urgent email from your CEO at 4 o'clock in the morning, I kind of doubt the CEO was actually up worrying and wanting you to go out and buy Amazon gift cards at 4 o'clock in the morning. And what was it about? Now, this is the real core of it. Phishing is all about developing a sense of urgency. It is, they almost always have a call to action of some sort involved in it. By the way, Bill Gates isn't going to send you money, Microsoft doesn't track your emails, and no Nigerian prince is really going to send you $1 million. Okay, just wanted to clarify that in case anybody was worried about it. And finally, is there an attachment or a link that you did not expect? If you didn't expect it, throw it out. When in doubt, throw it out. If it was really and truly important, these people will contact you again, or you can pick up the phone or go directly to the manufacturer's website to determine if, in fact, it is accurate, okay? Another one of my hobby horses is free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi is not cool. It's not a good idea. Free Wi-Fi is an invitation to have hackers jump all over your stuff. So don't use it, basically. That's the first tip. But if you have to, use a VPN when you have to use Wi-Fi in a public area. If you're using it on a mobile phone or a tablet, there are several VPN programs. Now, they do cost money. They're subscription-based, but there are several really good ones out there, like Private Internet or Freedom or NordVPN. So make sure that you're using one of those. Next one is turn your Bluetooth off when you don't need it. This sounds odd, but the truth of the matter is that Bluetooth is a personal area technology that was built without much security in mind. And I recently read an article about burglars actually using Bluetooth to determine whose vehicle had laptops or tablets or cell phones in them so that they could break in and steal them. It's fairly simple. You just turn your Bluetooth on so that it sees, it's searching for what's around it. You find something that actually has Bluetooth activated on it in a locked car, you break the window, you steal it. So just turn the Bluetooth off when you don't need it. Use multi-factor authentication whenever you can. And use encryption whenever you can. Encrypt the stuff on your cell phone. If you're using an iPhone, it is encrypted by default. That's the way it's designed. So just understand that some of the protections have already been built in by the manufacturers. But don't trust that intrinsically, okay? What else can you do to protect yourself? Well, first off, you need to build a defense in depth. Now, I wrote a primer on what defense in depth is about. So this is where you can find my blogs at. I recommend going out and reading it. It's not extraordinarily long, and it will get you started thinking about these things. Go back to Horton's 2 rules. Stop, look, or listen, and think. Don't trust anything, verify everything. And remember that old adage, if it sounds or looks too good to be true, it probably isn't. Finally, learn as much as you can about the current threats that there are out there. Knowledge is power, especially with security. If you practice these rules every time, no matter where you are, you're a long way down the road to making sure that you've got good cybersecurity. And with that, there you can see why I didn't have my camera on. I didn't want to scare people too bad until the end. So, do you have any questions for me?
Well, I'll tell you, Jerry, when you gave that presentation at the Small Business Innovation seminar, and about how many of the businesses would close as a result of that, that's really shocking. That's not
it is. It's one of those things where, especially small businesses, because you know, everybody in a small business tends to run on really thin margins. And so they base their cybersecurity thought process on, I'm too small, or I'm, you know, nobody cares about my antique business. In general, they don't. The cyber criminals really don't care about your data or what kind of business you're running, but they know it means something to you. And what they're looking for is a payday. They really don't care that, you know, you're selling antiques out of the back of your house. They care that you care about it. So, and unfortunately, because most small businesses don't prepare themselves properly when a bad thing happens, they really can't recover from it well. And if you can't recover from it, because it's not a matter of if you will be attacked, it's when and how badly it's going to affect you, and how well prepared you are to recover from that. So if you haven't done your, you know, if you haven't locked the barn doors before the cows got out, you know, you're going to lose the herd.
Yeah. Questions?
Jerry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Eric, yes.
I was just wondering, obviously more security is better, but is there, for a small business that's looking to have best security that they can afford, are there any kind of economy options for them?
Oh, absolutely. And you, Eric, you asked a great question, because this veers right into another presentation that I do called Cybersecurity 101, oddly enough. But it is all about doing risk management. The best way to secure everything that you have is to totally unplug from the world, move to the Himalayas and become a Sherpa. But that's not economically practical for most people. So what you have to do is you have to balance the risk against the cost of the cure. And that is just straight up risk management. There are some risks that you're going to have to be willing to accept. You know, for us out here, I don't think a tsunami is very likely. So we probably don't need to build buildings that are tsunami proof. But, you know, doing simple things like making sure that you use a password manager and separate credentials on all of your different accounts, using multi-factor authentication, having good reliable backups, having good perimeter and endpoint security, that will take you 90% of the way there. Does that cover everything? No, but it covers enough of it that it makes you a very hard target for cyber criminals. So that, and these things are scalable. You don't have to buy an enterprise grade firewall. They make great firewalls that are made for small to medium businesses and are priced accordingly.
And did you already say, or would you say some of the firewalls you would suggest?
Well, we have a relationship with WatchGuard Firewall, and they're great firewalls for the money. Their WatchGuard really focuses in on the small to medium business space. They're absolutely fabulous. I also have at times I've worked with Checkpoint, with Cisco, with Palo Alto. Not a single one of them out there is bad. It's just the one that suits your business needs and your budget the best. And make sure that you're talking to a reliable, trusted IT partner to get you the right information about what you need to fit your business properly.
Good question, Eric.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Michael Almack at the SBA. One thing I've been advising small business owners is to restrict super users or those with admin rights. And I've even told business owners themselves that they should have two profiles. One that they rarely use, which is the super user, or where they have full admin rights to add and remove software, and also segregate based on duties what rights certain people have to certain parts of the server, so that you know, if there is a compromise, you know, it slows things down. And then the other thing is I talk to people about their website and making it you know, secure with the HTTPS, with called transport layer security, or the old secure sockets layer. And what that does is it actually helps in marketing, because when people look up the business on the internet, Google or Firefox won't show it as an insecure or an unsecure website. And it also tells other servers when you send an email from your Outlook, that it shows to other, you know, to the recipient that that it's a legit email from that domain.
Absolutely. Mike, you bring up some great points. And to expand on what Mike is saying, and I didn't get into this in this presentation, mostly for time, but what he's talking about specifically are two different things. First off is principle of least privilege. You only need the access to do that is necessary to do the task that is required. The advice that he gave here is absolutely rock solid. It's not something that everybody knows how to follow very well. So once again, make sure that you're talking to a trusted IT partner, because they will explain to you how to start developing and designing principle of least privilege. Very, very simple, and it doesn't cost you much money to do. Basically, you just need to talk to somebody who knows how to do it, and they can lead you through the process. The second one is separation of duties. And this is probably another one of those infamous things that everybody should do and hardly anybody does reliably. It's not just a security principle, it's also an accounting principle. Basically, you don't want it so that any one person can finish any single job from start to finish. Specifically from the accounting world, that's how embezzlement occurs. But in the security world, if you have somebody who has the rights to do a single task all the way from start to finish, then if their credentials are compromised, then the cyber criminal has the rights to do that job all the way, which usually means something pretty big. So those two principles are huge. And like I said, they don't cost much. Mostly what you're paying for there is just somebody who knows how to do it, coming by and helping you design it. You're going to pay for their time, but believe me, it's money well spent, very well worth it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jerry. Other questions? Jerry, thank you so much. I think I see a lot of SBDC people on here, and it looks to me like your advice is going to be well taken. Go ahead.
You'll notice there that I have got my email address up. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm always happy to answer questions. And believe me, stupid answers cost you nothing. I'm pretty good at that one. But my goal is fairly simple. I just want to secure the world. So, and that you do that one person at a time is what it boils down to.
Thank you, Jerry, for sharing your expertise and your time. We really, really appreciate it. And that email address is a valuable offer.
And Nancy, I have a question.
Yes.
Given all the point of sale applications that are out there now to make small businesses responsive with Square and those types of things, what kind of security do they build in for all of those credit card transactions?
A great question. Specifically, there's an industry standard called PCI DSS, which is the payment card industry's data security standard. That's what that stands for. They have very, very strict standards that they have to meet, but that's only half of the battle. Understand that those people who do the credit card transactions not only meet PCI DSS, but they have other regulations that they have to abide by. You need to understand, as a small business owner, if you have a point of sale system, you need to design your system to meet the bare minimum PCI DSS standard. It's, generally speaking, it's pretty simple to do. The standards aren't horribly hard to meet. And they're not incredibly expensive. They just take some time and forethought. So I do happen, as a matter of fact, I did a whole talk on PCI DSS and point of sale systems earlier this year. I do happen to know a fair bit about PCI DSS, and I'm happy to share more of that offline at any time.
Very good. Good question, Randy. Thanks. Any others? Okay, so this is the point in our call that we open it up for our partners. This call includes a lot of varying people around the state with lots of different assets. And we really hope that you'll take the opportunity to share what's going on in your world so that the rest of us know what's going on. So who wants to share?
Hi, Nancy, it's Jessica. I can share since you emailed me this morning.
Oh, thank you.
I just want to say a couple weeks ago down in Parsons, right now for USDA Rural Development, I'm Jessica Bowser, Public Information Officer with USDA Rural Development. A couple weeks ago, State Director Lynn Hendrickson was down in Parsons, and we made an announcement that we are investing $5.2 million in broadband with Wave Wireless. So broadband has been a huge initiative for USDA. And within that announcement, I guess nationally, we're investing $500 million. And so this is the first one we've had in Kansas. Nancy emailed me, I believe it was Alabama maybe, received 50 million, which, yeah, I was like, darn it, but 5.2 is still good for Kansas. So I'm hoping we have more projects in the future, and this is just round one. We will have round two, hopefully being rolled out early in 2020. But we are excited that we did receive the one project. It's a fiber project, and it's supposed to be helping about 1,300 residents have better access to the internet down there in the Parsons region, 16 businesses and 23 farms. So I know that Wave Wireless was really excited. I believe with the Reconnect program, you could either get a 100% grant, 50% grant, or loan, or 100% loan for the financing, and they received the 50% grant, 50% loan. So again, when we get more information about the second round and what that looks like, we will send out information. Also, another program we currently have going on, Congress passed a disaster bill this summer, and through that, rural development here in Kansas received $2.2 million for community facilities grants. So far, we have approved, I believe, about 6 grants so far, and they have been shelving for public libraries, police cars, senior citizens roofs. So there's, if there is a essential community project that you have going on in your rural area, I would say to contact us. 71 out of our 105 counties are eligible for projects. So that can be a nonprofit, that could be a city, that could be a county, a fire district, EMS, and it doesn't have to have been directly impacted by that disaster. So there's a lot of funds available in that program right now. So if you know of any, send them our way. And Nancy has the information. I'll be sending out some more information again. So if you have any questions, give us a call.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Nancy.
That was both an affirmation of the 5 million. That gave me chills to think that that's going to happen. And a challenge to tell the rest of the people that, hey, Alabama got 50 million. So
right.
Great. Thank you, Jessica.
Yep.
Who else wants to share? Michael, you've got your mic open.
Yes, I do. It's really an opportunity for people on the call with small business development centers or lenders or anyone that would like to highlight a successful business. I'm with the Small Business Administration, and we're currently looking for nominations for our Small Business Person of the Year and Small Business Exporter of the Year. And just a day and a half ago, I was in Dodge City, and Dodge City Brewing Company has been a great story there, and I interviewed them, and they'll be a nominee for the award for Small Business Person of the Year. So any business that's received assistance either through SBA financing or loan guarantee programs, or through SCORE or the Small Business Development Center network, I make it easy. You give me the name and number, contact info, and I will reach out to them and see if they're interested. And paperwork isn't that onerous at all. And I also write a success story about the business and how they succeeded and how the SBA or our resource partners have helped them. So the deadline for these nominations is coming up soon, January 7th. So I'd like to reach out to the businesses really this week and next week, just to get the process started.
And Michael, since you made that announcement, I'll send it out to the people who aren't on the call too, because I think there should be a lot of good nominees.
Yeah, I'll send you a PDF with my contact info and just about the awards. And Small Business Week is when we actually will present the award, first week of May. Our district winner for Small Business Person of the Year is a state winner, they actually would be invited to Washington, D.C. for, to represent the state. And that's the last few years our winners have gone, and it's been a great experience for all of them. So it's an honor, and it's an easy way for you to highlight a successful business or exporter in your community. And if you are involved as a lender or a resource partner, I also make sure you get some, you're acknowledged as well in the article.
And are you going to have any more innovation? What do you call them? Innovation and
Yeah, Encountering Innovation, that's actually Small Business Development Center. If there's anyone on the call, they can talk about it. We've had these rural independent innovator conferences that have been successful, and I'll let, if there's anyone from the SBDC, if they'd like to comment.
the one I went to last January was just amazing.
I know they usually schedule them far out, and so I'll make sure you and the group know
Okay.
when the next ones are scheduled. Encountering Innovation Week is usually in October, and that's where tech scouts from Department of Defense agencies and EPA and energy looking for technological solutions to problems. It's like the SBIR, the Small Business Innovation Research Grant, on steroids, because these scouts, they have a problem. If your technology is a solution to their issue, you get money, or you get the funding necessary to accelerate the development of that. And it's been very successful. And Small Business Development Center in Kansas is really taking the lead nationwide on this, and it's a great success story.
And I see Greg's opened his mic. Greg, are you prepared to comment?
Sure, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that the next RIC event that we have scheduled is in Topeka in February. Trying to look at the exact date off my calendar
Okay.
here. But yes, the one we had in Dodge was really successful. Thanks, Eric and Maria. That was a great event with a lot of people that in attendance, and really a lot of fun. So I encourage anybody who gets the opportunity to go to these RIC events. They've been really successful, and we anticipate having continuing it on through next year. And as Michael pointed out, that there's also these also give kind of a taste to people who are innovators to be able to potentially pitch and show to our Encountering Innovation, which we had this last year at the end of September. We anticipate having this around the same date as either the end of September or first part of October. So more as we know more about that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Greg. And you're right. There's just something you can hear about these programs, but seeing somebody that's taking advantage of it is just raises it to a different level. We have someone else that's ready to share. All right. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Our next program in January is Cheryl White with the Kansas Department of Commerce. And, small businesses are always struggling to get qualified employees. And so she's going to speak with us about how Kansas Works, what incentive programs and other things Kansas Works can do to help small businesses get qualified employees. And I leave you with this thought for the day. And I think Jerry kind of said it in more than one time, actually. Don't make a change too complicated. Just begin. Thank you all for joining us.